Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful word in the human language, love, is sometimes used as a shield for the ugliest behaviors?
Oh, absolutely. It's so common.
Right. I really want you to think about that for a second. We use this word to describe the absolute highest peaks of human connection, but then it also gets weaponized, like all the time, to excuse things that are objectively harmful.
Yeah, it really functions as the ultimate linguistic defense mechanism because, I mean, who can argue with love?
Exactly. You sound like a monster if you do.
Right. If someone claims their actions are driven by devotion, it immediately puts anyone questioning those actions on the defensive. You find yourself arguing against this abstract virtue rather than addressing the tangible harm that's actually being done.
And that tension right there, that's the mystery we are unpacking for you today. We're doing a deep dive into a really striking, almost poetic text from May 2006.
It's a fascinating piece.
It really is. It was written by Diaforum Buddha, and the translation we're looking at was edited by Kinyu. And the title pretty much gets straight to the point. It's called, Oh My God, What Terrifying Love.
Yeah, terrifying is definitely the right word for it. The author essentially gives us this rapid-fire catalog of hypocrisies.
Like a whole list of them.
Exactly. It's a comprehensive list of all the ways humans justify control, destruction, and, well, just intense selfishness, all under this shiny guise of affection. So our goal today is to really figure out why this specific word is so incredibly effective at cloaking bad behavior.
And to do that, we are going to basically trace the author's argument from the ground up. We'll look at how this concept of terrifying love scales.
Because it does scale quite drastically.
Oh, massively. We see it start at the microscopic level, like right inside our own living rooms, and then the text forces us to watch it balloon all the way up to the macroscopic level of global warfare and, ideological oppression.
It's quite a journey.
It is. But if we want to understand how a virtue becomes a weapon, we really have to start by looking at the people closest to us.
Right, the micro-terror. So the text opens with this incredibly clear baseline image, which is someone capturing a free-flying bird.
Oh, yeah.
They just lock it in a cage entirely so they can look at it, and they shamelessly declare, "I love birds."
Which is so messed up when you think about it.
Right. The bird is completely stripped of its fundamental nature, which is flight, simply so the captor can feel a sense of proximity to it.
And then the author takes that dynamic, that caged bird dynamic, and maps it directly onto family structures.
Yes, this is where it gets really uncomfortable.
Totally. There is this brutal example involving a parent with an 8 or 9-year-old child, and instead of letting the child play outside or, develop their own independence, the parent just forces them to study incessantly.
They completely suppress the kid's innate nature.
Exactly. But they solemnly and proudly claim, I love my child.
And it doesn't stop there. We also see examples of the person who stops their divorced mother from remarrying, asserting so self-righteously, "I love my mother."
Like they own her or something.
Right. Or the partner who monitors their spouse's every single move, flies into these jealous rages, creates utter chaos at home, exhausts everyone around them, and just shouts, "I love you."
Yeah, the text even brings up discovering infidelity and responding with actual physical violence and threats, all while swearing with absolute conviction, I love you. When I read these intimate examples, it almost feels like a psychological money laundering scheme.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, like you take a fundamentally dirty action, whether it's locking a creature in a cage or controlling a family member or using violence, and you basically wash it through this shiny shell company called love.
Right.
And by the time the action hits the public ledger or even just your own conscience, it looks like a clean, noble virtue.
That is a brilliant analogy. And just like financial money laundering, the primary goal is to avoid detection. But in this case, the person you are trying to fool isn't just the outside world.
It's yourself.
Exactly. It's yourself. The human ego cannot easily tolerate being the villain of its own story. So if we isolate the psychological mechanism here, the text is exposing this massive blind spot we have between care and possession.
Okay, I do have to push back a little on the parent example, though.
Sure.
Because parenting objectively requires a degree of control and protection.
Right.
I mean, a child might want to eat candy for dinner and go play in traffic.
Right, of course.
So, okay, let's unpack this. It's kind of like a smothering gardener who clips all the leaves off a plant so it fits perfectly in a vase, essentially killing the plant, but proudly telling everyone they do it because they love gardening. At what point does necessary protection cross the line into the kind of prison the author is describing?
Well, that is the exact pivotal tension the author is asking you to consider. The distinction really lies in the direction of the benefit.
What do you mean by that?
So, true care fosters the growth and the autonomy of the subject. Possession, on the other hand, is about molding the subject to soothe the anxieties of the person in charge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the parent in the text forcing the child to study incessantly isn't doing it to help the child flourish. They are doing it to relieve their own internal panic about the future, or maybe to validate their own status among other parents.
So the love in that scenario is entirely self-serving.
It is focused completely on the comfort of the person feeling it. Think about the jealous partner. They monitor the spouse to soothe their own insecurity.
Right.
The captor cages the bird for their own aesthetic pleasure. Slapping the label love on these actions simply allows the prison guard to feel like a savior.
That is so dark, but it makes perfect sense. And if that psychological exploit works so flawlessly inside the home, it stands to reason that humans would naturally scale it up to the community level.
They absolutely do.
Which brings us to what we might call the meso-level terrors in the text. We move out of the living room, and we look at how love for an inner circle becomes the exact justification used to harm the outside world.
Right. We enter the realm of the in-group bubble. At the micro level, the harm was being done directly to the object of affection, like the child, the bird, the spouse.
Yeah.
But as we scale up, the object of affection is treated perfectly, and the harm is entirely outsourced to everyone else.
And the examples the text uses here are deeply, uncomfortably recognizable.
They really are.
The text describes a person who steals public assets resources that belong to the whole community just to embellish their own home. And they feel absolutely no shame in proclaiming, "I love my family."
Right, because in their mind, they're providing.
Exactly. And then there's the person who keeps the inside of their house lavish and perfectly spotless.
Yeah.
But they sweep all their trash right outside their front door into the public street without a single hint of guilt. And they proudly claim, "I love cleanliness."
Notice how the cognitive boundary is drawn there. The mind draws this hard, impenetrable circle around the family unit or the physical property.
Us versus them.
Yes. Inside the circle is us, and we are clean and loved. Outside the circle is just an environment to be exploited or trashed.
Now wait, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Right in the middle of these human examples of stealing and sweeping trash, the author drops in an image from nature that initially really caught me off guard.
Wolf.
Yes, the wolf. They describe a wolf that kills a lamb to feed its cubs. Its mouth is literally dripping with blood, and it proudly declares to the entire forest, "I love my children."
It's a very striking image.
It is, but I mean, the wolf is just an animal doing what nature dictates, right? Why would the author include an animal survival instinct in a list of human hypocrisies? It seems out of place.
It might seem out of place until you realize the wolf is serving as a mirror. It's holding up a mirror to our own evolutionary biology, our own tribalism.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
The author is using the wolf to illustrate how humans leverage that very noble concept of providing for our own to justify victimizing others.
So we use the biological imperative as an excuse for greed.
We do. When a human steals from the public fund to buy luxury goods for their family, they are not acting on biological survival like a starving wolf. They are acting on pure greed.
Right. Nobody needs a chandelier to survive.
Exactly. But because providing for our offspring feels biologically satisfying, the human brain basically conflates that biological satisfaction with moral virtue. We sweep our trash into the public square and steal from the collective because our moral obligation magically stops at our own front door.
Wow. It's weaponized tribalism. You draw a circle around your family, and everyone outside that circle becomes acceptable collateral damage.
That's precisely it.
The text is pointing out that if your love requires you to have a mouth dripping with the blood of a lamb or the resources of your community, then your love is actually a destructive force to the rest of the world.
The love for the in-group actively anesthetizes the guilt for harming the out-group.
Anesthetizes the guilt. That's a great way to say it.
And once you recognize that the human brain can anesthetize guilt just by changing the vocabulary, the next step in the text's progression feels, well, terrifyingly inevitable.
Which brings us to the macro terrors, the borders of nations and the boundaries of ideologies. We're looking at what happens when this tribal blindness is scaled up to the level of an entire society.
It's the exact same mechanism, just magnified.
Right, because if the psychological exploit works for a family stealing public funds, dictators and leaders can use the exact same exploit to justify mass destruction.
This is where the stakes shift dramatically from stolen community assets to life and death on a mass scale. The contradictions become explosive, but the underlying mechanism, that psychological money laundering you mentioned earlier, remains absolutely identical.
The author details an invader who goes into another country, committing arson, robbery, and murder, yet shamelessly declares, "I love my homeland,"
Which we see throughout history.
constantly. And then there's the reckless destruction of natural resources, which is brazenly justified with the claim, "I love the people of my hometown. I love the masses."
It is the exact same logic as the spotless house dumping trash in the street, just multiplied by millions of people.
And the text makes it clear that this isn't just about physical borders either. It's about ideological ones, too.
Right, the conceptual border.
Yeah, the author talks about someone enclosing themselves in a narrow religious bubble, actively preventing their followers from embracing any new ideas or perspectives, yet shamelessly announcing, "I love you all."
Smothering them to protect them.
Exactly. Or the act of persecuting dissenters, hunting down people who disagree with you, and boldly declaring, "I love my party," or "I love my faith."
This raises a really crucial point about how we interact with abstract identities. When the love of a concept like a party, a faith, a homeland supersedes the love for actual living, breathing human beings, atrocities don't just become possible, they become justifiable.
The climax of this section is undeniably the most shocking line in the whole piece. The author writes about someone wielding bayonets and embracing atomic bombs with reckless abandon while loudly proclaiming, "I love life. I love peace."
It's the ultimate paradox.
It really is. Loving peace while casually holding a weapon capable of vaporizing cities is almost comically contradictory. So what does this all mean? Are we just totally blind to our own paradoxes? Do the people holding the bombs actually believe their own rhetoric?
The frightening answer is, often they genuinely do. And this brings us to the absolute peak of cognitive dissonance.
Right, the mental friction.
Yes. Cognitive dissonance is that intense psychological friction we experience when our actions deeply contradict our self-image. So if a human being is participating in a war or in aiding a country, the brain experiences a catastrophic crisis.
Because they still want to be the good guy.
Always. The thought, "I am a good person," violently collides with the reality, "I am doing a horrific thing."
And the brain cannot hold both of those realities at once.
It physically cannot. It must eliminate the friction somehow. And since the violent action is already happening in physical reality, the brain is forced to rewrite the internal narrative.
Wow.
Instead of, "I am destroying a city," the internal monologue becomes, "I am securing peace." The text argues that the most massive atrocities actually require the most massive, noble-sounding justifications.
That makes a terrifying amount of sense.
You cannot convince millions of people to commit violence or destroy their environment by telling them they are being evil. You have to tell them they are acting out of love.
Because if you don't dress it up in the language of love, the weight of the cognitive dissonance would simply crush them.
Exactly. And I think we need to highlight how impartially the author approaches this phenomenon.
Right, because they aren't pointing fingers at any one group.
Exactly. The text does not take a specific political side here. It doesn't single out one specific country's nationalism or one political party or one religion. It is impartially laying out a universal human tendency. Left-wing, right-wing, east-west humanity universally uses love as an impenetrable rhetorical shield.
It is an infallible rhetorical trap, really. If I say I am invading a country or persecuting a group because of my profound love for my faith or my homeland, you cannot criticize my actions without sounding like you are attacking faith or homeland itself.
You've outmaneuvered them completely.
Right. I have effectively made myself immune to criticism by hiding behind a sacred word.
The grander the violence, the grander the word required to obscure it.
Man, that's heavy. And just when you think the text has reached the absolute limit of human hypocrisy with atomic bombs and global warfare, it shifts gears for the finale.
Yes, the final category.
It introduces a final category that strips away even the illusion of cause and effect. It explores the ultimate disconnect between actions and abstract vows.
Which is such a fascinating pivot, because in the earlier examples, there was at least a twisted, self-serving logic at play.
Right, like the wolf feeds the cubs.
The invader steals resources for the homeland. The parent controls the child to soothe their anxiety. It's messed up, but there's a link. But in this final category, the action has absolutely nothing to do with the professed value.
The final two examples from the source material highlight this perfectly. First, there is someone indiscriminately dumping trash everywhere, totally unfazed and unashamed, yet they look up and declare, "I love nature."
Total disconnect.
And the second one is someone bullying kind and honest people, treating them terribly, while fervently swearing, "I love God."
We see this constantly in modern society. It is the desire to claim the identity of a virtue without taking on the burden of the actual behavior.
It's like bumper sticker
What do
philosophy.
you mean?
Like you slap an "I love nature" sticker on a car that's actively leaking oil all over the road.
Yeah.
You want the social credit, the identity of the virtue, without doing any of the actual driving or maintenance. It's entirely performative.
That's a perfect way to describe it. What the author is doing with these final, purely abstract examples is really brilliant. They are forcing us to strip away the dialogue.
Just mute it completely.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are so conditioned to listen to what people say about their motives that we let their words color their actions. The text is demanding that we look purely at the verbs.
The verbs, the bullying, the dumping, the stealing, the caging.
Yes, if you take a mental eraser and completely wipe the word love and all those verbal justifications out of the equation, what are you actually looking at?
You are looking at pure malice. You're looking at selfishness, destruction, and control.
You are left with the raw, objective reality of the behavior. And the terrifying part, and the real reason this text is so aptly titled, What Terrifying Love, is how easily that four-letter word acts as a cognitive eraser for bad behavior.
It just wipes the slate clean.
It blinds the perpetrator to their own cruelty. And tragically, it often blinds the victim to the reality of their abuse. If someone bullies you, but they constantly remind you that they are doing it because they love God or because they love you, it severely muddies the waters of reality.
It makes the victim question their own sanity. They start thinking, well, they said they love me, so maybe this cage they built for me is actually a sanctuary.
It creates a shared delusion where both the oppressor and the oppressed agree to prioritize the spoken word over the physical reality of the harm.
Wow. So as we step back and look at the entirety of Deformed Buddha's text, a really clear, unified thesis emerges. From the living room to the global stage, the message is that true love, real, non-terrifying love, must be measured exclusively by its outward impact.
Exclusively.
It has to be measured by the freedom it grants the bird, the autonomy it gives the child, and the respect it affords the outsider.
Crucially, it cannot be measured by the internal, self-serving justifications of the person claiming to feel it. It simply does not matter how warm, fuzzy, or righteous you feel inside if the physical result of your actions is building a prison for someone else.
It forces a complete paradigm shift in how we evaluate our own motives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We are incredibly adept at judging ourselves by our noble intentions while strictly judging everyone else by their actual actions. This text strips us of that luxury completely.
It really does. And to help you, the listener, apply that paradigm shift, I want to leave you with a final thought experiment. It builds directly on the things we've unpacked today.
Okay, let's hear it.
I want you to imagine that for just 1 week, every single one of your interactions and decisions is recorded on camera. But here's the catch. The sound is completely muted.
Oh, man. A silent film of your life.
Exactly. A silent film. None of your verbal justifications, none of your noble explanations to your friends, and none of your soothing inner thoughts can be heard. The audience can only watch your verbs.
Just the actions.
Just the actions. If someone watched that completely silent film of your week without the benefit of your commentary, would your actions clearly and undeniably look like love? Or would they look a bit like the terrifying love we explored today?
That is a mirror we all probably need to look into a little more often, because as we have seen today, it is remarkably easy to use the most beautiful word we have as a shield for the ugliest parts of ourselves. Pay attention to the silent film of your own life. What verbs are you leaving behind?